Hey guys, Rick here, hanging out in my new office slash operations center slash video studio. Just wanted to put together a little video real quick. I came across this project that came up while I was moving this stuff around, and I wanted to show it to you. Check this out. So you guys have seen the layout already. You know how this works. It's a bunch of switches back there. Which I'm calling switch junction. Got a couple loops over there that are going to go across to the bridge. Bridge is going to come over. Yada yada. You guys have seen that. Down here in the yard, you guys have seen my ladder. That portal over there actually goes to a piece of track behind these guys that loop around there and go up to the helix, and the helix pops out over there. Not important. What is important is these turnouts, this board with the buttons, which I've also hooked up LEDs to. Soon to be this board, which I don't have the LEDs in yet. Most importantly, what I wanted to show you was, in my last video, I showed you guys that I got a new desk that I took out of my wife's office and I put into, I guess what's now my office, down here in the next room. I'll walk you over here in a minute. Down here in the train room, up here in this cabinet, it used to be full. It used to be full of, there was a computer up there, a set of speakers up there, and everything that I needed to use. You can see the old monitor still sitting there. There's network connections there. If I had an issue while I was working on the layout, or if I was listening to a live stream, or if I was partaking in somebody's panel and yard stream, this is where I would be, and this is where I would be doing all that standing here. That computer had a connection there. I'm sure you guys know by now if you've been following along. Down here, that's bright. Down here under my layout, you see back there, I've got an NCE powerhouse station over there on the left. On the right is a separate booster that controls, one controls the top deck, one controls the bottom deck. But what's important is on the on the right, you'll see there's a serial cable coming out of that powerhouse unit. So that serial cable used to go up to the computer that was in that cabinet. Well, let's take a walk. As you notice, we're leaving the train room here. And over here, this is now my new setup. This is going to be my quote-unquote office area. It's where I'm going to be doing all my computer stuff out of. I got a fridge over there. Yeah, you know what's in there. Printers up top there. The cabinets that used to be over there are now over here. This is now going to be my workbench. My daughter also uses it to play with her Legos. But this is where I'll be able to do my projects from now. But here's the funny thing. I moved the computer into here. And I'm all set up. Everything is running. But that computer was connected to my NCE system that's over there behind that wall. So my choices were poke a hole through the wall, run the cable through the wall or back over to the computer, which I really didn't want to do. It was kind of a pain. I'm going to sit down because I can do that now. It was kind of a pain to have that on there because I needed that open for JMRI. So JMRI was running off of this machine. If I needed to use that to throw turnouts or just look at my roster for my computer for my locos or any of that, my programming track I used in JMRI. If I wanted to do any of that, it needed to be done on this computer. So this computer, not that JMRI takes up a lot of space, but it was kind of dedicated for that. So I got to thinking. I went to searching for alternatives. First, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to get another computer to put back in that cabinet. Now, let me show you what I did. Let's take another walk. I had one of these guys in a cabinet. You ask, what is that? Well, it's not an Arduino, I can tell you that. But it's close. It's a Raspberry Pi. That Raspberry Pi runs a version of, I guess it's Linux. Runs a version of Linux that has the JMRI software installed on it. It's got basically one power cable that goes in, network cable that comes out, and then there's a USB connection right now that I just have going over to the serial cable that was going into my NCE system. So all this little guy does is change that serial signal into a USB signal, because that certainly doesn't have a serial connection to it. So I got that all set up the other day, and I plugged it all in, and then I had to figure out how to get all the JMRI stuff off of that computer and get it onto that Raspberry Pi. Well, I'm here to tell you, I did it. I did it, and I love it. Let's walk over here back to the desk. So, give me a second. I'll flip over to my computer camera, and I'll show you the software and everything there. Hang on. All right, guys, here is my desktop computer where I've got everything that I use for my editing and for JMRI. So the biggest thing that I use to edit my software is Kdenlive. I'm actually editing this as I'm recording it. Kdenlive is the software that I found the easiest to use. I'm also using OSB to record my desktop here and do my voiceovers. You can't see that because that's actually on another monitor. But the biggest thing I wanted to show you was my JMRI. So there's this little program that's loaded onto that Raspberry Pi called VNC. And there is a VNC viewer that you get. And this is what the quote-unquote desktop area of that JMRI PC or unit looks like. It has JMRI contains a roster of all of my locomotives. This isn't all of them. I still have a few more to program in there. It's got Panel Pro, and I also can do Decoder Pro. So I can program my decoders from here. It has Wii Throttle, so I can hook up my cell phone or a tablet or an iPad and connect it to the Wi-Fi signal that's coming out of that little box, that little Raspberry Pi, and use those as controllers. I also built a panel here for my yard, and also for switch junction. The cool thing is, from these panels, I've programmed all of these turnouts so that I can actually click on these icons. For example, that one, and you see it changed. Well, in the other room, because that Raspberry Pi is hooked to my NCE system, it's sending that signal to my command station as if it was a cab, and those switches are actually turning as I'm touching them. I could do the same here in the yard. Change all these to diverting tracks. Isn't that cool? JMRI has so many other functions. I'm not even going to get into that. This is just what I use it for, but you can also do ops manifesting out of it. You can classify your cars, a whole bunch of other things. But these are the core things that I use it for. So this little machine will just sit here and run, and when I need it, I just pull up that screen. When I don't need it, it just goes away. So now, one of the other beautiful things about having JMRI set up is that I can now sit at my desk and I can use my wireless NCE controller, and I can throw switches and turnouts on that controller, and I can see them switch here. How neat is that? So I just happened to acquire, we're not going to say how, this is a touch screen. So if I take these turnouts here, and for example, if I touch that one, it throws. If you were in the other room, you would hear the tortoise switch. I can sit here and touch all of these from this room and throw all those switches in the other room. How cool is that? And that is why I've been working so hard to get the switch 8s on the turnouts and the mini panel functioning with the buttons, so that I could come in here and throw all of these switches from the panel, from the buttons, or from the throttle. I am not an expert, not in the least. I fiddled around, I looked on the internet, I asked people questions, and I got it working. So if you've got any questions or you've got any comments, leave them down below. And as soon as I get to them, if I have the answer, I'll give it to you. If this is something you're interested in, let's hook up, let's get together, and I'll give you what info I know. If I don't have the answer, I know a couple people who might. So, my rail riders, that's all I got for this episode. Any questions, comments, put them down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I'll try my best to put out all the content and all the information I know. It's not on a regular schedule, but it'll get out there if I have time to put it together for you. So as always, guys, stay safe, stay well, stay indoors for now, and let's ride these rails together. See ya.